Hi, welcome back to Auto Review. My name is Patrick and today we have the 2017 Toyota Prius plug-in hybrid. So the 2017 Toyota Prius comes as a hybrid and as a plug-in hybrid. The difference in price in Switzerland is approximately 12,000 francs. This one is a plug-in, so it means you can charge it on a wall box over a normal house electric plug, or with one of the chargers that you'll find on the highways or somewhere else. So what's different? If you see the Prius on the road, you can identify the plug-in hybrid from the normal one by the headlights. So this one has, let me call them the Bugatti Chiron headlights, because we have these four kind of parts that but are very similar to the Bugatti Chiron. So basically we have a hypercar here, kind of. And the second difference will be the rear. On the plug-in hybrid, we have the lights in a horizontal way. On the hybrid, we have them in the vertical way. So just go online and take a look at them and compare them. You will see the difference is actually obvious once you know it. What do we have on board here? We have an 8.8 kilowatt hour battery that allows you to drive approximately 50 kilometers in pure EV mode, means purely electric or fully electric. And it's super quiet. I've just tested it a little short drive because I'm going to test the car over the next 3 days. However, today is the last day of nice weather, so I just want to show you the car from outside as usual. And then my resume you will get in 2 days when I'm going to have driven the car for approximately 300 kilometers. So as usual, I'll show you the first row, the second row, and the boot space. And sorry, I forgot the facts. So we have a 1.8 liter VVT-i hybrid 4-cylinder engine, producing totally 122 horsepower. The 1.8 liter petrol engine is approximately 98 horsepower powerful. The 122 horsepower are available at 5,200 RPM. Maximum torque is 142 Newton meters at 3,600 RPM. Top speed is 163 kilometers an hour, and 0 to 100 time is 10.6 seconds. We have a fuel tank capacity of 43 liters. And obviously we are not going to be able to achieve 1.1 liter fuel consumption that Toyota claims, because my personal way to work has a lot of highways, so I'm not going to be able to achieve that. However, if you use this car mostly in the city and you have a daily commute of approximately 50 kilometers or a little bit over that, you have the possibility to charge your car over a wall plug at home or at work. You're going to have a pretty awesome car with very low fuel consumption, if at all. So, without further ado, let's check the car from the inside. Okay, so the Prius plug-in from inside. And the first thing that you will notice is we don't have a screen in front. We have one central dashboard in the middle, plus a navigation screen here, and a lot of buttons. And this is quite overwhelming, I have to say. When I got into the car and I was driving for the first few meters, it was so much information. You have to actually really take your time and look at it before you start driving, because it can be distracting. But as usual, from left to right. So, door bins, we have some space for smaller bottles, no big bottles. Then we have automatic electric windows for all four windows, which is great. So as you can see, it goes up and down, and all automatic without me actually doing anything. We have electric mirrors, which we can fold in as well electrically. They are heated as well. We have the blind spot assistant, we have a lane departure assistant, we have a front radar that you can adjust in 3 settings over these buttons here. But let's go left to right. So we have a head-up display where you can have the brightness adjusted. We have automatic parking in this car. We have ESP on and off, then as again auto lights, then a clock, so when you charge you can tell the car what time you're going to leave in the morning or in the evening whenever you're leaving the house, so it can preheat or pre-cool the car and make the car ready for you once you take out the plug. And to open the fuel gauge cover. Then the steering wheel can be adjusted in height, reach and rake. However, I find the highest position to be still kind of low. So when you actually pump up the seat all the way up, it's kind of too low for me, so I had to go all the way down. Then steering wheel, we have leather wrapped with this white, which is matching the exterior color. I'm not quite sure if, in case you order the turquoise or the red car, if this will be in the according color or if it's always going to be white. Again, here the same thing. Then on the left side we have volume buttons as well as station change, trip to see all the information about the trip. For example, now I just started 21.7 kilometers and I have 2.2 liters average fuel consumption because I was driving quite a lot in EV. Then we have telephone on off and voice control. On the right side we have a rocker to go through the different menu settings. HV system, fuel consumption, drive monitor 2, echo protocol, energy flow, and so on. Then speed limiter, lane departure assistant and radar, plus the cruise control button here. Vents, left one and right one, 2 in the middle. Hazard light in the middle, which is great. It's always good if it's in the middle, not somewhere on the side. Then we have the touchscreen. One point I would have to criticize is that you can't tilt it towards the driver, so it's kind of reflecting quite a lot when you have the sun from the side. And what I do not like as well is this touch sensitive buttons here is not so my thing. I prefer physical buttons. You can go through the menu system, settings of the car, range it says 1,147 kilometers. Would be interesting to try this out. Maybe I can see later on if there will be possibilities so I can actually drive one time this car until it's empty. Then go through the system, navigation and telephone. So let's keep it in navigation. Then air condition control buttons, 2-zone driver and passenger. We have auto fast and echo, which is good. And obviously you can switch to dual, so when you push one, both sides will on. Then on the bottom we have the knob to actually select the gears. We have parking, then here we have reverse up, neutral to the left, drive down, and we have a button for B. That's actually for battery, but in German you can say it's for Berg, which means mountain, because this one will turn on the engine. You will recuperate actually less, but if you go downhill, for example in the mountains, it will actually use the engine as an engine brake, so you don't overheat the brakes, or basically you don't have to be on the brakes all the time. B doesn't mean you will recuperate more energy, actually in drive you're doing more. Then we have the drive modes. We can switch between normal, power mode and eco mode, HV and EV city to, well, made actually for EV city, so you have less power and the longer distance basically. And last but not least we have a glove box, which is kind of okay. 2 cup holders with extensions, so they adjust according to the cup you have. Wireless charging for a phone, and funny, it's actually exactly the size of an iPhone. An iPhone is 6 Plus, 7 Plus, 8 Plus, whatever. You can turn it on and off with a little LED light. Then we have a 12-volt power socket, aux in and a USB port. Interesting fact, when I plugged in my iPhone with a third-party plug, it was just ding, ding, ding. It didn't accept it. With a normal, original iPhone plug cable, it did charge my phone. Then armrest, which opens towards the driver. A little bit difficult for the passengers to get something out. With a little tray and quite a deep pocket to put stuff. And glass holders for people like me who have glasses, illuminated mirrors for driver and passenger, and reading lights for driver and passenger. And the last thing would be the mirror that is dimming itself when it gets dark in the evening and you have lights in the back. In addition, we have here the optional leather interior for 2,100 Swiss francs, which gets the price of the car to 49,100 Swiss francs with the carpets we have as well here. So seats are comfortable. I will tell you how they are on a daily commute. Let's check the second row and we continue there. Okay, so the Prius plug-in from the back, and even though the car roofline goes down, I'm 184 tall and I'm sitting comfortably. I can even lean back and then just my forehead is touching a little bit. But if I sit normal, straight, I have enough headroom and I'm not touching. Doors open wide enough. We have a cup holder or a bottle holder, let's call it this way, in the door, so 0.5 liter will fit. Then we have automatic windows in the back, automatic down and automatic up. We can hold on to, we can have a little hook, and we have those actually on all 4 sides, even at the driver's side. Then we have pockets in the back seats to put, for example, the vests, the high reflective vests, which we need to have here in Europe. And as I mentioned, this is a purely 4-seater, so we can't put this up. This is down all the time. So we have the cup holders here. We have a quite good sized compartment. However, it's a little bit low. So if they already make it a two-seater in the back, they could have made it even higher so it's more comfortable, because you will have to actually sit like this to use the armrest. And last but not least, we have a 12-volt power socket, however no two USB, so you need to have an adapter. Transmission tunnel is very low. You could have a third person here, but you're not allowed to, and you can't. We have two ISOFIX, left and right, and we have kind of, it looks like a filter ventilation thing on the back side, on the, between the door and the seats. Not quite sure what's the function of that. Maybe you know, just put it in the description. So, reading light, and that's it. Let's check the boot. All right, so the Prius plug-in from the back. And what I mentioned in the beginning of the video, the plug-in has this kind of, well, swing into the boot. It looks like an elephant actually took a sit on it. And don't worry, if it rains, it doesn't fall down here. And the lights are obviously in the horizontal position. The normal Prius will have them this way. So what do we see? We have a Prius PHV. Everything is kind of a blue background illumination. It's not a light, it just looks like. Plug-in hybrid. And once we open the boot, one very important fact and very cool fact is the boot lid is carbon fiber. Very, very nice. Unfortunately, it's just the boot, not the entire car. So then we have a cover. Once we put the cover away, you will see we have a pretty small boot. And here below we have a little bit, a compartment for some small items. Just below that rubber mat we'll find the batteries. So this is the boot space you get. So you can obviously fold down the seats. As you can see, loading height is okay, but then you have to get over like 3 steps. It's not super practical. And obviously you can't load very high, because once you close it, you'll have the glass window here. So you have to be careful that you don't smash the window into something that is sticking out. Okay, so that's it. Let's hit the road. One more thing I forgot. Inside the boot you'll find this, well, bag. Let's call it bag. It has a handle here. And once you open it up, we have, obviously what's very important for a plug-in hybrid, a cable to charge. So let's throw the bag. And the car itself has 2 slots to basically refill. On the left side of the car, you have the petrol tank. On the right side, you have the space to plug in your cable. Let's just do that here. So the big one goes in the car. And this one is the smart charger for home. As you can see, we have a normal 230 volt plug, which will plug in into any wall plug. And basically your car will start charging. So that's it. Now let's hit the road after I put everything back together. Okay, so we are here 2 days later, and you've just been introduced to the car, and now I'm gonna tell you what I think about it after I drove it for 229.7 kilometers, 230 kilometers. So I was using this car for a daily commute. I drive quite a lot of highway. Approximately 80% of my daily trip to work and back from work is highway. Then we have some B roads and very little traffic, very little city drive basically. So what can I tell about the car? Now, it's very comfortable. I really have to say it's very, very comfortable, and I was just blinded by the sun reflecting from the screen. We're going to come back to that in a moment. So the seats are very comfortable. I really like them. They're not soft, they're not hard, they're exactly right for my taste. And I think the 2,100 francs extra for the leather is well invested, because we do have as well heated seats. Now, coming to the heated seat, that's one thing that is negative, where they position the button for the heated seats, because they're behind this console where you select the gear basically, and it's behind here. So I just by chance I found it for the drivers here. The passenger can't even see. So the placement of the buttons for the heated seats, not good. Difficult to find. Then what I like is really the comfort. So how it drives over bumps, how it drives on the highway. It's very quiet. We are now in the HV mode, which is mixed between electric and petrol. So the car decides to drive either or. When you're, for example, going up a hill, it will usually drive with the petrol engine, and the EV will help a little bit, but mostly it will be the petrol engine. Now, one thing that I didn't like too much about how, now you hear it, for example, the engine becomes very, very noisy because of how the automatic transmission is set up with the engine. It's like a rubber band, kind of, you know, it's like, it revs really, really high and it keeps it for a long time before it actually shifts up in gears. You have no selection of the gears itself, so you can basically not manually override and say, okay, I want to go 5th gear. I don't even know how many gears this car has, because you have no RPM, you have no gear selector in the sense of, okay, 1st, 2nd, and so on. You have no shift pedals, so you really don't know which gear you're driving in at any point of time. Then, what I mentioned in the beginning, that it's quite overwhelming, you get used to it. So I drove this car now for 3 days, it's the 3rd day, and I already figured out what is where and how to do it, and what is the most effective screen is basically what you see here now. So you have that screen here with the trip meter on the bottom, which tells you the average fuel consumption, and then the one which is basically showing you how much power you use or how much petrol you use, so EV mode or HEV mode, how much battery you have left, and the score for acceleration, drive, and recuperation. In my opinion, what they could have left out is basically this one here. It shows that you're in drive. I don't really need that. It would be nice if it shows you once you select it, and later it disappears and gives space for something else. And then on the right side you have basically all the information, like, okay, cruise control is on, blind spot assistant is on, parking sensors are on, and all the stuff. It's not necessary. It would be okay if they give it information, okay, it's on, and then it disappears. Because all this screen surface, basically, or screen real estate, is pretty much useless on the right side. So you basically use most of the time this one here. Now, the screen here, what I mentioned as well, it's okay, but you see it now as well here. It reminds me like a super crazy HDR, like someone over-sharpened it and overdone it with the colors. It's too much in my opinion. And it's not very high definition in my opinion. There are better navigation screens from the resolution as well, and from the looks. You see now it's super reflective. I don't even know if you can see something or not. You see all the dust because of the paint, the high gloss piano paint kind of, and you can't tilt it. So basically if the sun comes from that corner there now, I'm gonna be totally blind because I can't see anything. I can't tilt it, and it's very difficult to read. That's a negative point. I do not really like as well this touch sensitive field, because it's not a touch screen, it's not a physical button, it's something in between, and it doesn't work as good as I would like to. For example, the volume, I never use this one because it's really not working well for me. I use it basically over here with the physical buttons, and thanks God we have them on the steering wheel. But that's pretty much it of the negative points, because the rest is really amazing. Now think about it. Toyota is building the Prius in the 4th generation, and since 20 years. 1997 was introduced in Japan, and 2000 came to Europe. And this technology is basically all sorted out, so they know what they're doing. And what I liked as well is that you can drive in full EV mode. Oh, we have a Zimmermann Roadster. Something that you don't see very often. So the technology is all sorted out and all working perfectly fine. And I like that you can put it in full EV mode. I like that you can charge it, because there's a hidden function in it, which I didn't mention to you because I figured it out later on. The HV EV button, if you keep that one pressed for a little bit longer, so now let's do it together. 1, 2, 3, around 3 seconds. You will have here charge mode. It will indicate. What it will do is basically it will turn on the petrol engine, and some of the power is used to regenerate the batteries and charge the batteries. So even though it's a plug-in hybrid, you can charge the batteries while driving. It will result in approximately 15% more fuel consumption. So I tried it out yesterday, and when you drive in pretty much level, right, not up the mountain, down the mountain, you need approximately 17.5 kilometers of driving at the speed of around 100 kilometers an hour to charge 10 kilometers of pure EV battery distance. So it means that if you drive approximately 87 kilometers, let's say 85 kilometers, you should be able to recharge the batteries from 0 to full and have another 50 kilometers on pure EV mode. Why not drive like the normal Prius? Because you can override it, you can decide what the car is supposed to do. And this is what I like. That, for example, if you drive on the highway and you're driving 80, I figured that the best recharge for this one is driving at 80 kilometers an hour, because it will give the most power back to the batteries without increasing the fuel consumption too much. So that's basically the sweet point, I would say, that I figured out. So if you drive at 80, it pretty much every 100 meters you drive, it recharges 0.1 kilometers of EV power. So 100 meter driving, 100 meter recharge EV power, which is great. If you go faster, it gets less. So that's how I mentioned. At 100, it's approximately 17.5 kilometers you need to recharge 10 kilometers of EV power. And my fuel consumption now was on average 3.7 liters per 100 kilometers. And this is because I couldn't recharge the car on the plug, because I had no opportunity to do so. If you do not use the function of basically recharging the car while driving, now we have to go a little bit faster because we have traffic behind us, then you will be able to basically get a fuel consumption of approximately 3 liters, I believe, if you do like this if you do like this daily commute like I do on the highway mostly, because you're going to drive in higher speeds and obviously you need a bit more fuel. So I had a fuel consumption of 6.1 when I was recharging the full time. So I started recharging the moment I took off until the battery was around 30 kilometers, 35 kilometers charged, so I could drive EV again. So if you have a full battery, it allows you to drive 50 kilometers in EV, and you have another 50 kilometers where you drive and recharge, you will end up with approximately 3.1, 3.2 liters per 100 kilometers. If you can charge your car overnight in your garage or at your workplace, you obviously don't have to have the higher fuel consumption, so it will be something lower than that. And if you drive the car only in city or as well highway, and your distance, your daily commute is around 40 to 50 kilometers, you should be able to drive the car mostly in electric mode, which means you have no fuel consumption. So, and this is the great thing about the Prius, that the Prius plug-in, that it allows you to do so, and I really like that. And having a car that can go approximately 1,200 to 1,500 kilometers on one fuel tank, if you do the recharge as well in between, is great. Yeah. And this is something I really liked. Build quality is good, so softer, hard. No, it's harder plastic, but it's not full hard. Here is a little bit softer. Then obviously here is soft. It's all well, it's all good. Yeah. One thing I mentioned, it's a little bit stupid that it opens this way because the passenger cannot get to it. The heated seats buttons a little bit difficult to get to, but with inductive charging or basically wireless charging now supported with the iPhone 8, 8 Plus, and 10, or Samsung device, Android device, and the only thing I see is the difference between the normal Prius and the plug-in Prius, because it's 12,000 Swiss francs. And you have to see, is that something that you would like to spend in addition? And you lose basically one seat, because this is a pure 4-seater, as I mentioned, it's not a 5-seater. You lose boot space, but you get a bigger battery and you have higher range of EV mode. You have to decide. Now, who is this car for? Let me go into EV mode again now. Who is this car for? Basically, if you're living somewhere where you are not allowed to drive a normal car in. For example, if you live in Zermatt, which you can't even get by car in, but this is basically a village in Switzerland where there are no petrol cars allowed, or diesel cars. Only electric vehicles are driven there. You can't get there in the first place, but if you would be somewhere in the future where they're going to say, okay, we don't want any other cars than electric cars in the city center, this one would work, because you could drive outside on the highway with petrol, and once you get into this zone in the city where you're only allowed to drive in EV mode or electric, you could just switch, and that's the great thing. I'm actually very, very positively surprised of the Prius. There's a lot of people, petrol heads, who are very skeptical about this car, and obviously the design is something you have to live with, and you have to be confident to drive something like this, because it really shouts out, look, I'm totally different, I'm not the standard car that you find on the road, it looks totally different. But if the car ticks the points that I mentioned, you're gonna be very, very happy, because I think it's a great car. It's very comfortable, it's sufficient space for four. Yes, boot space is lacking a little bit, but having a car that only consumes around 3.2 liters or 3.7 now, the way I was driving it, and you can charge it overnight somewhere and in the workplace, you can basically drive it in pure electric mode, but still have the possibility of a big fuel tank of 43 liters and have the possibility to drive more than 1,000 kilometers on a charge or the fuel tank. Well, that's it. From my point of view, thumbs up. Price is a little bit pricey, yes, but technology costs, and this is best, I would say, in regards to having electric and petrol mixed together, so from both worlds. So thanks a lot for watching. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Thank you very much to Garage at Zimmermann AG in Unterseen, who gave the car to me for testing. I highly appreciate it. You'll find the details below. If you're interested, just call them up, come by, take a look, and schedule a test drive. So subscribe, like, and share. I'll see you next time. Bye.